guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to be sharing my summer TBR as well as some books that I would recommend for the summer if you're looking for any summer book recs. Summer is just such a fun time to read. Also, there are so many new releases coming out that I'm very excited to get to. Yeah, I'm just gonna rattle off what is on my summer TBR, also recommending some books throughout. So if you're interested in that, then stay tuned and keep watching. So like I said, there are a ton of new releases coming out or have already come out, and I am very excited to get to them. So I'm just gonna kind of list off some of the new releases, and then I'll go in and talk about some other books that aren't new releases that I'm also hoping to get to this summer. So when I'm posting this video, these three have actually already come out, but they were new releases in April. So first we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I am really excited for this one. Abby Jimenez, her writing is just so phenomenal. I feel like she does a really good job of having something like emotional and deep happening with the characters, but then you also have this really beautiful romance. When I think about past books of Abby Jimenez's that I've read, I'm always obsessed with the male main character. They're always very kind and caring and helpful and sweet with the female main character, and I just really love her writing style. I love how she adds humor and banter, and yeah, it's just, they're always fun reads, and I feel like especially for this time of year, they are perfect. So I will go ahead and recommend as well, if you have not read any of Abby Jimenez's other books, you absolutely should. I really love Yours Truly and Part of Your World. Those are some that like really stick out to me, and I'm pretty sure Say You'll Remember Me is kind of a part of that interconnected series, as well as Just for the Summer. I'm pretty sure like those ones are all kind of interconnected, and then I think this book is also going to be kind of connected with those as well, which is always fun to just see other characters randomly pop in. Is always a lot of fun. Then I have Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the last book in the Powerless trilogy. I have loved this series so much. I have just been eating it up. I know a lot of people were not super happy with the second book. I personally still loved it just because I love being with those characters, and I'm just very excited to see how this series wraps up. It was one of the first fantasy series that I started, and I have just absolutely fallen in love with it, and it has really made me into a fantasy loving girl, so I'm really excited to see how this one wraps up. And we have Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage, which is actually the book that I am currently reading. This is the final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I've loved this series so much. It's been just such a fun, like easy read. The one thing I will say about these books is they aren't as like deep and emotional. My one complaint is sometimes the characters feel a little two-dimensional. Like I feel like you don't get to really know the characters and really know like a good backstory for them. But if you're looking for like a light, summery, easy read, I would definitely recommend this series because they're all relatively short, like 300-ish pages, very fast paced. Like I feel like if you were sitting at the beach, you could probably sit and read these books in like one sitting. They're that just like fast paced and easygoing. So definitely would recommend this series if you have not already read it. Then we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Of course, I am so excited for this book. I will literally read anything Emily Henry writes. I would read her grocery list. So I just cannot wait for this one to come out. And this one is about bookish people, which is always so much fun because she always has such amazing quotes about reading and books and being somebody that loves books in her writing when she's writing about bookish people. So I'm really excited for this one. Honestly, I haven't looked too much into the synopsis because I do want to go in completely blind. And yeah, so I'm just kind of not looking too much into it. The book comes out next week. I literally am so excited. It's like gonna be Christmas for me when this book gets delivered. Also, of course, I'm going to sit here and recommend every single Emily Henry book. If you have not read any of her books, what are you doing? Like, is this your first time on BookTube? If it is, hi, welcome. Read every single book of Emily Henry's. I have no issues with any of them. They're all truly perfect. Like 10 out of 10 amazing books. Next up we have Rewind It Back by Liz Tom Ford, and I'm really excited for this one because this is the final book in the series. It is finally Rio's story. If you have read the series, you know everybody has been waiting for Rio's story, and yeah, I'm just really excited for this one. The Windy City series is a sports romance, and it's actually all set in Chicago. They're all different sports players for different Chicago teams, which is really fun because I live in Chicago, so it's so fun to like read about and read a book set in your city is always fun. I actually have a 5-star book out of this series, which is Caught Up, and I absolutely loved that one. Honestly, I've loved every book in this series, and I would recommend all of them. You don't have to read them all in order, but they are interconnected, so you do get the past couples, their stories in the books and everything, so I would recommend reading them in order, but you don't have to. But these are also great books for the summer. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. They're all super fast-paced, easy reads, and even though they're not necessarily summery, like they're not set in the summer, I still feel like they would be good summer reads. Because for me personally, when I think of summer reads, I think of romance. Like, I mostly read romance in the summer, that just seems to be the vibes for me. So if you're that way as well, I think you would really enjoy the Windy City series, especially if you love a good sports romance. Then I have One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. Carley Fortune has quickly become an author that I am kind of on my like auto buy list. Like, at this point, I feel like I will read any book that comes out by her. First book I read by her was Every Summer After, which I loved and gave 5 stars, and highly, highly recommend that one. That one is a childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. Love that one so much. And then she also has Meet Me at the Lake and This Summer Will Be Different. And Meet Me at the Lake was not like an absolute favorite. I think I gave that one maybe like 3.5 stars, but still very fun, summery set book. And then last year she came out with This Summer Will Be Different, and I remember I completely binged that book at the beach. I loved it so much. The setting of that book was so much fun. And yeah, so now she has her next book coming out, and I'm really excited for this one. Again, I don't know too much about the plots of these books, especially for these authors where I'm like, I know I'm gonna buy the book regardless. Like Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry, Carley Fortune, like these are the people where I'm like, I don't even need to know what the plot is. I'm just gonna buy the book because I enjoy their writing. Another auto-buy author at this point is The Love Haters by Catherine Center. Again, don't know too much about this one, but I'm going in completely blind, and that's fine because I just love this author and I love her writing. She writes very interesting, unique characters, which I always like. Like some of her earlier books that I don't see a lot of people talking about have really like unique, interesting characters, which I really enjoy. She also has The Bodyguard, Hello Stranger, The Rom-Commers, all of those I've really enjoyed. I really enjoy her writing style. I really do kind of lump her in with these romance authors that just write like good romance. Like I don't know how to describe it, but they write such good realistic stories. Like obviously they're a little cheesy, they're a little out there, but like good realistic stories with real characters going through real problems that everyday people go through. And I've just really started to lump Catherine Center in with some of my favorite authors. I've really enjoyed a lot of her books. I would highly recommend going through her backlist and reading all of her books because they are just so phenomenal. And yeah, I'm really excited for The Love Haters. Also, I love the cover of this book. I think it's so cute. And yeah, I'm just excited to have it on my shelf and excited to read it. Then we have It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. So first, before I even get to that book, I need to read Annabelle Monaghan's other 3 books that I own. Last year, I heard so many people talking about her and so many people recommending her books. And so all 3 of her other books that she's like more recently written, which are Summer Romance, Nora Goes Off Script, and Same Time Next Summer. I'm looking over at my bookshelf right now to read off the titles. I'm determined to read all of those before It's a Love Story comes out at the end of May, right? Does it come out at the end of May? Yes. So I have some reading that I need to get done before then, but I'm going to read all 3 of those books before. I have just heard that her books are, again, similar in that romance genre of the authors that I've been talking about. Just good romances that also pack an emotional punch but have fun, unique characters. And also at least 2 of her books have summer in the title, so it just feels right to read them in the summertime. And like I said, I just am always reading romance in the summer. All right, then we have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am so excited for a new Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I actually have some of her books that I have not yet read that are also on my want to read. Atmosphere is about, I want to say it's like women in space that work in like NASA and things like that. So that is going to be super fun. I love the way that she writes strong, independent women. Like Daisy Jones and the Six, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, the main character there. Like she just really has a knack for writing these strong, independent women, and I am just so excited. I feel like Atmosphere, I don't know that it's romance heavy. I think it's gonna be more female empowerment, a women's fiction story, which I am so excited about because I just love the way that she writes women. I think she does a phenomenal job, and yeah, I'm really excited for that. Also reading about women who work for like NASA or space, I think is gonna be so cool. But in addition to reading her newest release, I do have some of her books that I still have not yet read. So that would be Carrie Soto is Back. That is the only one in the like Hollywood series that she wrote that I have not yet read, but I really, really want to. That one is about Carrie Soto, who's a tennis player, kind of follows her life. Very excited for that one. Then also I have One True Loves, which the premise of this one has always intrigued me, and it's been on my shelf for so long and I don't know why I haven't picked it up. So it is on my summer TBR. I'm determined to get to it. It's basically about a woman who is married. The husband goes missing. He's presumed dead. And then a few years later, she's engaged or is in a serious relationship, and then her husband is found and shows back up. So now she's kind of stuck trying to navigate these two relationships, and I just think that sounds so interesting. I'm so excited to read it. And then I also have Maybe in Another Life, which is also one of her older books that she's written, but have heard really good things about it. So my goal is to read some TJR backlist as well as her newest release. Going back to some new releases, we have Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I have only read 7 Year Slip by her, but I enjoyed that one. I thought it was really fun, especially the way that she adds this sort of magical realism, and I think that's something that she tends to do a lot in her books. So I'm excited to read this one. I'm not sure I think this one has magical realism in it, or maybe a slight element of it. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, I really enjoyed her writing and I'm really excited to read this one. I also still have not read The Dead Romantics by her, which everybody has been raving about for a few years now at this point and says how good it is. So I need to read that one. I am determined to get to that one. And then also her book that came out last year, I think. I just never got around to it, but it's called A Novel Love Story. And that one, basically the main character gets sucked into her favorite romance book, Small Town, and is like living with all of these small town characters. And I'm like, as a reader, that just sounds like my dream scenario. And so I'm so excited to read that one. Then we have Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. So this is another one where I need to read the series before, but this is the Vancouver Storm series. And again, I think it's all hockey romance. And I am a sucker for a hockey romance. And this is the third or fourth book in the series, so I do want to read the series. I've not yet read it, but I've heard such good things about it, and I just feel like I'm going to love it just based on the things I've heard and like the booktubers who I've heard it recommended from. We have very similar book tastes, so I just feel like I'm going to love it. And then the fourth book comes out towards the end of the summer. And then the last one I have is Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. Similar story where I need to read this Lakefront, is it Lakefront Billionaires, I think? I need to read the Lakefront Billionaires series before I get to that one. But again, same thing, heard the recommendations so many times, and I read the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. I finished it earlier this year and I really enjoyed it. I liked her writing style a lot, and so I need to get to that as well. And hopefully I'll enjoy those and want to continue the series and will want to read Love Arranged, which comes out at the end of the summer. Okay, that was a lot of new releases and other random books that I have talked about. Some other ones that I have not yet mentioned that I'll just quickly go through. I really want to read the Cheat Sheet and the Rule Book by Sarah Adams. Don't know how I have not gotten to those. I loved the When in Rome series, and everybody talks about the Cheat Sheet and the Rule Book, so I'm excited to read those. I believe those ones are both sports romances as well. I'm not 100% sure. Also, speaking of Lauren Asher's books, so I want to read the Lakefront Billionaire series, and then also the other series she has that I have not read is the Dirty Air series. This one is an F1 romance, which I have been really wanting to read an F1 romance. Everybody talks about F1. Everyone is so obsessed with it. I know nothing about it. I never watched that like show that was on Netflix or whatever, the documentary that like made so many people obsessed with F1. But I feel like if I read a series about it, I'm gonna become obsessed with it. Also on my TBR is the Gold Rush Ranch series. That is Elsie Silver's first series that she came out with. Obviously, we know Miss Elsie Silver from the Chestnut Spring series and then now the Rose Hill series that she's writing. And I truly love Elsie Silver writing with my whole heart and soul. If you are into a cowboy romance, Elsie Silver is your girl. If you have not yet read the Chestnut Spring series, I'm gonna need you to pause what you're doing, I'm gonna need you to go pick up, if you have a Kindle, go pick up your Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited. If you don't have a Kindle or you don't have Kindle Unlimited, I'm gonna need you to go to your local bookstore right now and purchase this series because it is so good. So good. If you love found family, if you love cowboys, if you love all the different romance tropes too, you're going to love this series because each book has a different trope of the very like popular book tropes that we all know and love, and it is just so good. Nobody writes banter quite like Elsie Silver. So yeah, I'm gonna need you to go pick up that series if you haven't already, as well as the Rose Hill series. It is also a cowboy romance series, but it is completely separate from Chestnut Springs. It is about a different town, different group of people, but so good. I have loved all of the books. They're all so amazing. Also, I really want to read Out on a Limb and Out of the Woods by Hannah Bodum Young. I have heard a lot about these two books, especially I've heard a lot of people talking about Out on a Limb. This one is an accidental pregnancy, which I know a lot of people are against accidental pregnancy. I personally don't mind it. I think growing up reading so many Wattpad stories about accidental pregnancies made me like not hate it. I feel like a lot of people have this dislike for it, which I completely understand, but for me, I personally don't hate it. I don't necessarily seek those books out, but if somebody recommends a book to me and then it's accidental pregnancy, I'm not going to be like immediately no. So I'm excited for that one. I've heard really good things about her books, and I think she even has another book coming out later in the fall maybe. So if I like these ones, maybe I'll want to pick that one up as well. Finally, I just have a couple of rereads that I want to touch on. So I really want to reread Funny Story by Emily Henry. That was her book that came out last year. And I will say, I think it might be one of my lesser favorites of her books. And I really truly think it's because I went into it with way too high of expectations. And also I think at the time that I was reading it, I wasn't necessarily in a book slump, but I just like wasn't fully invested in the book. I think like in my head I went in with such high expectations, but then I personally was at a point where I wasn't fully invested in reading in general. I don't even know if I would consider it a slump, but I think I just went into it with the wrong vision maybe. So I really want to reread it and just see if my perspective changes at all and kind of go in with it more with an open mind now that I have read the story. I also really want to reread Beach Read. It is just a classic. You gotta reread Beach Read every summer. Like it just, that book, nothing hits quite like it. And then I also really want to reread Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I read that book probably like 2-ish years ago now, and I just remember absolutely loving it. It is one of my favorite tropes, childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. And I am just really excited to reread that one and just be back with those characters because I remember being obsessed with it when I was reading it. Okay, I am sitting here looking at my bookshelves. I feel like throughout this video I have mentioned so many books, kind of different recommendations throughout, so I'm trying to see if I missed any others. Oh, one I would absolutely recommend is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Read that one last year. It is phenomenal. It is about two kids who met in high school, had a really incredible week together, and then never really saw each other again. And then later in life, they're both authors and they're writing about each other in their books, and they reconnect at like a literary event. And it is just so good the way that they are writing about each other in their books, and the other like knows that they're writing about each other. Oh my god, the book is swoon worthy, which I hate that term. It kind of is like cringe to me, but like it's the only way to describe it. Like truly swoon worthy. Love the main male character in that book. He is incredible. So love that book if you have not read it. I think that is all of the recommendations that I have. I feel like this video was pretty heavily romance, but like I said, I typically tend to read mostly romance in the summer. But if you have any other recommendations that are not romance, definitely let me know down below. I have a lot of fantasy recommendations, or I'm starting to build up my fantasy recommendations as I read more fantasy, but I feel like those are more fall, winter vibes for me. So you'll probably get a video later in the year, which will be more recs of like fantasy and some more literary fiction stuff, just because that's typically what I personally tend to read more later in the year. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know what is on your summer TBR down below. I feel like my summer TBR is very ambitious. I know it's very ambitious. So we'll see if I can truly get through all of these books. I hope I can. We'll find out. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.